All right, ladies. So our topic for today is geographical phenomena. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to see how we can go through one phenomena in the Caribbean. And that has to do with plate tectonics. We're going to identify how identify earthquake and volcano zones in the Caribbean and assess the impact of these natural hazards on the Caribbean. But before we go to that, why study geographical uh, where why study geographical phenomena? One, uh, the, there are several different rock types, soil and landforms within the Caribbean, right? And these actually affects the Caribbean, and our geography tend to influence our environment. And so when we look at uh, our geography, determines where we build, how we actually live. In fact, let's look at this side. So we look at our environment and the influence of our environment today. We can say for sure that our environment influence our settlement pattern, where we settle in the Caribbean, the different types of industry we have, obviously because of our geography and also because of our environment, our atmosphere, all of these different stuff, the influence that we are highly a tourist sector. Uh, we also involved in a lot of natural industry, tropical. We produce a lot of tropical products and our sayings, certain sayings that we have, folklore, proverbs, these little stuff also influenced by our environment. Our food that we eat, our food that we eat in the Caribbean, is influenced by our environment, or we dress, the different types of building we have, our infrastructure, the recreational activities, the type of trade that we have. All of these are linked to our environment. Travel, where we should go, all of these different areas are linked to our geography. Now we know for sure that the Caribbean is a very diverse area when it comes to land mass. There are some islands in the Caribbean that are very different. Some are mountainous, some are not. There are some areas in the Caribbean that are drier than others. There are some islands that are flat. There are some islands that have more rainfall than others. Very diverse region, lovely region, but very diverse. And also, uh, there are several different types of things that are going to affect our Caribbean. And one is the movement of plates is a phenomena. Hurricane, soil, erosion, coral reef, drought, floods, all of these are things that affects the Caribbean. Now, if we look at plate tectonics, this is a theory that explains how the Earth outer crust moves around over the molten layer below. The crust consists of a huge slab of rocks, which is plate, whose movement can fold mountains and influence the occurrence of earthquake and volcanoes. So in the Caribbean today, two things that are linked to plate tectonics is one, earthquakes, and two, volcanoes. And so the first thing I want to, so if we look at the plates, before we look at volcanoes, uh, this is actually the Caribbean plate here, and Caribbean countries span several different plates. Some countries sits on the South American plate, some sits on North The Caribbean plate some sits on the North American plate. Along this area in the Greater Antilles, not the Greater, the Lesser Antilles, you have quite a lot of volcanic islands, right? So if we look, you have a volcano here in Grenada, underwater volcano, Kikemjeni. You have Soufrière in St. Vincent. You have Quahibo in St. Lucia. You have Mount Pelée in Martinique. Dominica has quite a lot of them. La Soufrière is also in Montserrat. No, this is not Montserrat. This is Guadeloupe. Yes, in Guadeloupe. And you have Soufrière also in Montserrat, right? So we have quite a lot of volcanoes from this end of the Lesser Antilles right down to Grenada. There's quite a lot of active volcanoes on these islands. Now this is La Soufrière in St. Vincent. This is the crater, which is right here of the volcano. And this is it when it's pretty not active. But today, well, since recently in in the in the Caribbean, who is this student? The student that just entered the room, could you rename yourself for me, please? I need to mark you. The Ken Drake, could you rename yourself? Hello? The student actually left the room. I wonder if it is a student. Adult. All right, so we have La Soufrière in St. Vincent, and right now in St. Vincent, that volcano is in a state of eruption, right? So it's the entire country is unease when it comes to this one. So I'm going to show you a video from St. Vincent. And this was done by a Jamaican teacher about it's addicted to geography. I don't know if it's Jamaican, the person sound Jamaican. You determine when you're through.
Greetings, Mr. Hunter here. Just letting you know about some developing news that I've seen come across my radar. It seems our neighbors in the Caribbean, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, their residents have been put on high alert due to increased seismic activity in the La Soufrière volcano area. Now, volcanic activity is no strange event to the Eastern Caribbean, but the increased seismic activity in the area has prompted authorities to take note. They think that it may be related to the La Soufrière volcano that is in St. Vincent. Now, the Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves said during a live address that residents should be on high alert, and it clarifies that no evacuation order has been given. However, he urged every resident to be very careful due to the observable steam and heat that this area is giving off. The recreational visits that usually go towards that volcanic site have been suspended due to the high amounts of heat and strong sulfur smell that is in that area that could potentially affect any individual that is in the area and mess up their respiratory system. The precautions are being taken in the event that the current activity that is being observed in the area develops into an explosive eruption. Professor Richard Robertson of the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center stated that this is what is called an effusive eruption, effusive, EFFUSIVE, an effusive eruption which is going on at the Soufriere, which essentially means that magma is coming slowly out of the earth and it's bulging under the earth's surface and it's creating a dome. Now, we already know that everything in geography is connected, so it's no surprise that volcanic activity is connected to other volcanic activity in the area. Now, for example, in 1902, the La Soufriere volcano in St. Vincent erupted just hours before the devastating eruption of Mount Pelée, which is in Martinique. Now let's listen to what the Prime Minister had to say in a live address aired a couple hours ago.
Um, and where the image was basically smack in the crater of the volcano. So there was a possibility that, given that we were having seismicity before, we have this hot spot. It wasn't clear what was happening. We were a bit more concerned. So we arranged with NEMO to go and have a look into the crater, and I think they were about to do that when on Monday now. Well, the hotspots from the imagery that we have had since, the hotspots sort of continued. So NEMO, the Soufriere Monitoring Unit, arranged to go up today because one of the things that we saw was it could have been something else. It could have been the fumaroles getting hotter. It clearly suggested that there was a heat source at the summit that was not letting up for the last couple of days. What happened today when they went up is that they verified that there is an emission, what we call diffusive emission of magma, quietly extruding out of the volcano. Sort of, if you think of where the volcano is, and just quickly, I'll share an image so that you could see what I'm talking about. This is an image of the volcano. Hopefully, I hope that most of you have gone up there by now. Yeah, if you haven't sent you really should walk up the volcano at least once. But anyhow, that's the dome, and there's an area in the dome which has already been steaming since 79, where we call fumaroles, where you have mainly water vapor, but mixed in with sulfur. That's why you smell a lot of sulfur. Sulfur and volcanic gas come out of it, and it has that white patch. And then there's a lake on the right-hand side. I just want to point out these two, the fumarole and the lake. Now, what the guys, when they went up today, discovered is that just north of where you have the fumarolic activity, where you see my mouse is circling, just north of it, in just sort of in, I would say, the northwestern, sort of western, well, it's western northwestern side of the volcano, just around that ridge there, where there was a pre-existing lake. I think the lake, a temporary lake, it had gone for some time. It comes and goes all the time. There was an explosion of a black mass of rock from that area, and from what we've seen of it, it's steaming, and that's where the steaming that people have been reported is coming from. From what we see in our conclusion, there is currently what we call an effusive eruption ongoing at Soufriere, where essentially magma is coming slowly out of the earth and building a dome. Essentially, the amount of rock that you have in that came up in 79, something else like that, what we now call in a satellite dome, is actually building and growing next to it. So that's the current state of affairs. We are currently working with NEMO to augment the monitoring system, because at present, what would happen once you have an eruption onset? We want to have a team. We would want to have more instruments in, so that we could give direct advice to NEMO as it goes along. So what's happening now is similar to what happened in 71, 72. But in 71, 72, we had a lake. Now we don't have a lake, but you have the same kind of mass growing on the side. As it is now, the mass is confined in the crater because of the configuration of the crater. A lot of the hazard as it presently stands are in the crater itself and on the immediate rim of the crater. So the hazard would be from the rock itself that is simply coming out, and the rock is going to be hot. So you don't want to be close to it when it's growing. It's going to be, it's basically, if you think of it like a big truck dumping a set of stone, and it's just dumping the stone, but the stone is coming from below. The stone is coming from the row and the mass is growing. That's what's happening now. And as it comes out, it's bringing with it the gases that comes out, and the steam that you see in there is the gases that come out. A lot of it is sulfur rich. Most of it, when it mixes in the atmosphere, is not going to cause much harm. It's probably, if you're on the crater rim, it's going to be really difficult to breathe because some of the sulfur, some of the constituents of that gas is probably sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, which is smelly, smells bad, but also it dries out your respiratory
airways.
Makes it difficult. Your airways. So you kind of get dried up when you smell it. So the point is that on the crater rim, not a good place to be. In the crater, not a good place to be. But as far as this mass stays in the crater, it's really a continuing threat currently to the flanks, people on the flanks of the volcano.
Yes, and just to reiterate Professor Robertson's request that we have no unofficial persons visiting the dome at this point in time to avoid any possible hazards from the emissions, as well as a rapid change in activity at the crater. So that no one visits.
We advise people not to visit the crater now, which is one of the things I know everybody in St. Vincent want to do now. Don't do it, basically. It's a bad idea.
Now, Prof, what I think people would want to know, this effusive eruption, this oozing eruption, now, is that, you say that's like 1971, 72. How
Yes.
does this differ from 1979?
Right. Okay. There's two ways in which soufre has traditionally, well, I should say, soufre has been erupting the same kind of way for thousands of years. From studies we've done, it either erupts effusively, as it is doing now, where it quietly emits magma, which is this rock, but it becomes rock as it comes out. It's molten beneath. As it comes out, it dries out the gas and it builds a mountain, like what you had there in 79.
That's inside of the crater itself.
Dangerous way. Right? Excuse me?
That's inside of the crater itself.
Right, yes.
Okay.
The other way, and the more dangerous way in which it erupts, is when it erupts explosively. And this explosive eruption is one in which it basically, the material comes out very quickly. It has a lot of gas in it. And because of the gas and because of the speed at which it's moving, it basically destroys everything in its path. It destroys the dome, it fragments, it produces a lot of ash. Interior is hot. When it goes down the mountainside, it scars the mountainside. It's very dangerous. That's an explosive eruption. That's what happened in 79. In 79, you had an explosive eruption. In 1970, effusive eruption. Currently in an effusive eruption. Now, the thing that why you have to monitor it closely, because while in 71, you had an effusive eruption, a long quiet, and then you had an explosive eruption, it's possible for the two of them to happen much closer together. So that's one of the things that we have to look at. If it's going to move from effusive to explosive, which makes it a bit more dangerous.
So students, it should be very interesting to watch the development in the next couple of days, especially interesting to the third form students who will be doing volcanoes as the next topic after we finish earthquakes. So this should be something to whet your appetite, so that when we get into speaking about volcanoes, at least you would have known the two types of, well, you would have known two types of eruption, the effusive and the explosive types of eruptions.
All right, ladies, so we see what is going on in St. Vincent, and not only St. Vincent, but also Mount Pelée in Martinique. also have some form of eruption or activity taking place. And there's quite a lot of people that live within, well, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent said that 30,000 people live within the volcano zone. And so that is very significant number of people out of a population of approximate, well, about 110,000 people. That's quite a lot out of the population. And so we know for sure that this volcano, the eruption of volcano within the Caribbean is very significant, especially to what happened in Montserrat in about 1995. I believe there was an eruption in Montserrat. It was terrible. And so we know for sure that volcano is one. Next, we have a coral, in addition to volcanic islands, we have coral islands in the Caribbean, such as Barbados, the Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos Islands, right? My next focus that I want to look at is earthquakes. Earthquakes are very, very important. And just like how earthquakes are linked to plates, sorry, just like how volcanoes are linked to plates, the earthquakes are also linked to plate. And these are basically the movement of the earth crust, right? For earth, so when you have two plates, if I should go back to this slide, when you have two plates moving together at the same time, what you have is that it creates a vibration which we call earthquake. Now, in the Caribbean, we have seen quite some very strong earthquake. Jamaica, 1907, 1993, and Haiti in 2010. And we have to look at Haiti because I believe Haiti has been one of the most significant earthquakes to happen in our Caribbean. The over 230 people would have 230,000 people would have died in Haiti. 180,000 homes were destroyed. 2 million people were affected. 1.5 million, which is almost the entire population of adult population of Jamaica. 1.5 million people would have died, not died, were homeless actually. You had a cholera outbreak because sanitation system was basically disrupted. The water system, electricity, 5,000 schools were destroyed, and the total damage was 11.5 billion US dollars, right? So we know for sure that earthquake have some very serious impact on our Caribbean societies, and one perfect example is the is Haiti. Now we're going to look to Jamaica in 93, where Jamaica had a 5.4 earthquake, and that earthquake also was very, very significant in Jamaica. 518 families were basically displaced, houses were destroyed. The water system was affected as a result of the earthquake. The Causeway Bridge, anybody? I don't think most of you might know the Causeway. Airborne just after the Causeway was, maybe you know it. So those of you who live in Portmore, you know what is now Highway 2000. You used to have this bridge that runs across there. Let us look online and see if we can look at the Causeway. I'm going to show you what the bridge was like. That was also damaged as a result of it, of the earthquake in 1993. So you know where you have the toll road in Portmore? Anybody know Portmore? Are you aware of the Causeway Bridge?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, good. So for those of you who don't know the Causeway Bridge, where it is. Give me a second, please, for this to go. I think this, so this is the, oh, somebody was actually, oh, this is a video of it. So before you have this nice toll road that in Jamaica, what you have now going over to Portmore, that was built by former Prime Minister PJ Patterson. The Causeway Bridge that is there, that was there. Okay, let us show you here. So this side right here would have been the old road, right? So what they did was that this was the causeway that used to run from Portmore, and then the PJ Patterson government would have built the toll road, uh, which improved transportation into Portmore. I don't think it has improved the traffic situation there, but it has improved it way better than before. So this was the construction of the causeway back then, where they across the sea they built a road and they call it the causeway. After a period of time, they would have built the toll road. All right, so this bridge was actually destroyed during the 1993 earthquake. I believe also in the 93 earthquake, 2 persons would have died from uh, would have died, and the damage, where it is, yes, 2 fatalities. A cliff actually collapsed in Portland. Financial issues, we $5.8 million of damage, and insurance companies as a result of cars being, you know, cars damaged during it, houses. They had 7,871 insurance claim, which accounted to about $152 million at the time. So we know for sure that the earthquake in Jamaica was very, very significant in 1993. Not as dangerous as the one in Haiti, but we know for sure that it was significant. And recently we had an earthquake here in Jamaica, I think sometime last year, can't remember. But there was some earthquake. But earthquakes are part of our phenomena that we go through as Caribbean people. And so there are measures that we can put in place to minimize earthquake, such as we can set up and continue to fund organizations to monitor earthquakes. We can avoid the construction of avoid the building in avoid construction in earthquake prone zone. We can set up an earthquake fund. We can also increase our education and awareness program through drills in school, emergency plans, and all of these different stuff, right? Now we looked, Volcano has, where it is, Volcano has some negative effects on us in the Caribbean. You can have poisonous gases, ashes fallout, damages plants. This should be plants and crops by blocking the sunlight. You can have also respiratory ailment as a result of the ash and the different things that is going on there. and also the loss of life, the destruction of infrastructure. We can look at what Montserrat, for example, an entire town in Montserrat was destroyed as a result of the earth, the volcano, migration, disruption of tourism, travel, economy. So we know for sure that there are some negative impacts of volcanic activities in the Caribbean, but there's also positive impact, such as the Pythians of St. Lucia. You have hot springs in St. Lucia and Dominica, where people go to those territories, tourists, for the hot spring bath. They there's also uh, agriculture, because after a period of time, once the ashes are there, the soil becomes very fertile in these territories to grow things. And it people go to see the black sand. Yes, people always see white sand, so people decide that, oh, we need to go and see black sand. So tourism is also plays we Caribbean countries also benefit from the volcanic activities, right? Also in St. Vincent here, people, tourists come to the island just to see the volcano and to climb to see the crater of the volcano. So we know for sure that there are benefits to the volcano. Well, having a volcano in your island, but they are also negative. Like right now, we have two Caribbean islands, Martinique and Saint Vincent, that is basically on edge because anytime God forbid, or what they are predicting is that they could have an eruption that could cause massive damage in the Caribbean, in those territories. So we know volcano, and we know for sure that earthquakes. So volcanoes and earthquakes are two phenomena that happens in the Caribbean that we know for sure that affects our Caribbean negatively. When we return, we're going to look at hurricanes, coral reefs, soil erosion, drought and flooding, and that will cover geographical phenomena. So next class, I believe we will go through hurricanes, and then the Thursday class, we see where we can stop. But we are on good stead. Tomorrow we are not meeting. Please meet in your groups to cover your IAs. We meet again Wednesday and Thursday, and I think I'm going to give an activity on geographical phenomena, because I know students are doing others, well, they're at different workshops, and I want to know if they actually either go through the PowerPoint or reading on geographical phenomena. So what I'm going to do, I'm giving an activity on geographical phenomena. So you should see it in Google, the Google Classroom. Any question, any comments? No question, no comments. All right, ladies, enjoy the rest of the day. See you on Wednesday.
Bye, sir.
Bye bye.